Okay, we are recording because I like to start on time. It makes me happy. So welcome everyone. I'm really glad you're here. I was afraid I would be the only person here because this week, like I was telling Amanda, had I realized that the election would take up so much of the week, we would have rescheduled for another week because I know everybody's spending all their time on a screen. But this is going to be fun screen time. It's going to be totally stress-free screen time. And before I introduce our guest, and excuse me as I let more people in, a couple of things. Those of you who have been to a lot of these classes have already heard me say this, so just bear with me. So we noticed at Huthmaker Violins that our wonderful adult amateur musicians had just kind of lost a lot of their passion for playing in the last few months because all the rehearsals were canceled and their concerts were canceled. And we decided we want to do something fun to bring us all together so that we can learn and hang out a little bit. And thus Classes for the Curious Musician was born. And I am recording them, so I will put this up on YouTube on the Huthmaker Violins YouTube channel. I should get it back up tomorrow. So there's Natalie. Natalie's from up the Seattle area. So and I'll have that up and I will post it on Facebook so that you guys can watch this. I think this is going to be one you're going to want to revisit over and over. So
I agree.
Yeah. So I hope that if you guys aren't from Atlanta, if you come visit Atlanta, come see our shop sometime, come introduce yourself. We would love to see you. My camera says Dixie Huthmaker, but I'm actually Anna Huthmaker. The one that says Buddy Huthmaker is actually Dixie Huthmaker. That's my mom. And so I think everyone else has a correct name as far as I know. But the class will go as long as Amanda wants it to go. And if you have questions, I want you to put them in the chat box and I will throw them to her as we can. You've also, if you've been to some more of these classes, you've heard me say that my favorite part of doing this whole series is that I got to bring on all my favorite people. So everyone you've seen so far has been somebody that I really respect and look up to and have learned from. And tonight's guest is no exception. So Amanda, I have to tell you, I actually met Amanda in Trinidad when my friend Uta and I would go down there and teach instrument and bow restoration at the university there. So Amanda did some classes with me, but she did more classes with Uta, and she's actually quite a good violin restorer. And then she moved to Minneapolis, Trinidad, Minneapolis, 110 degrees on any given day to -20, but she's still smiling. And when I learned that she's specializing and she's doing a lot of music, yoga for musicians, I knew she was perfect for this. So I am going to put this, I don't know if I change it on my screen, I don't know if it changes it for all of y'all, but I'm going to put it on speaker view so that whoever's talking gets the big screen. And if you are not muted, please mute yourself. And if you don't, I think I can mute you. So Mom, can you mute yourself?
Can I say something first?
Sure, go ahead.
All right, I was a professional musician for 37 years and I'm now 75. I don't play anymore because of physical problems, but I can tell you that the older you get as a musician, the more problems you might have if you don't take good care of yourself. And musicians are not good taking care of ourselves because we think that when we play our instrument, everything is natural, but it's not. At my age, I have TMJ, I have carpal tunnel in both hands. So if I had Amanda when I was younger, I'd be in a lot better shape. I'm muting, sorry.
Thank you, Mom. She's absolutely right. Absolutely right. And that's how come we are all here. So, all right, Amanda, I'm actually going to mute myself also so that I don't interfere with you. So take it away. And thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Anna. I'm very, very excited to be here with you guys. Just to reference what you said about Minnesota and Trinidad, if anybody cares to look at a map, Minnesota is actually a flip of Trinidad. if you look at the shape of it, which is really cool and crazy. And I don't know how that happened. And Uta is definitely partially responsible for me moving to Minneapolis. It really helps to have a friend that I've known for a long time, because I don't really know many people here. So I thought I would tell you just a couple things about myself, and then we'll start with some meditation and then some stretching. So just so you know, it'd be really good if you had a couple pillows with you. So you can go ahead and grab those, because we're going to use them when we stretch. And also, if you can be near a wall, that'd be really good. Or if you're comfortable with it, you can be on the ground. So we're going to do lots of wrist and shoulder stretches that you can do either on the ground or against a wall. So just so you know, we'll be moving a little bit. And also at the end of our workshop tonight, we're going to end with a pose called legs up the wall, where you're going to literally put your legs against a wall. So that's why you need a wall, just so you know. So a couple of things about me. Like Anna said, I'm from Trinidad. I lived there for the first 27 years of my life. And then I moved to Minnesota, went to school in Duluth, one of the coldest places in the world. Didn't die, thankfully. My violin also didn't die somehow. And then I moved to the cities, where I met my husband. So we've been married for about 1.5 years. And I mainly teach yoga for musicians, and I also teach the violin and the ukulele, and a little bit of piano. But my main instrument is the violin. So like Anna said, if you have any questions at all, feel free to type them in the chat and we'll get to them as soon as possible. So we're going to start off with a meditation. Find a comfortable seat, or if you'd like to, you can lay down on the ground or wherever you are. Close your eyes if you're comfortable doing so. If not, just find a soft gaze looking at the ground. And just notice where your breath is. Notice whether you're on an inhale or an exhale. And then notice what your natural sitting position is like. If it's okay on your back, try to stack your shoulders right over your hips. And then move your head around your neck a little bit and see if you can find a spot where your head is resting right on the center of your neck, a point where your head feels almost weightless. So we're living in such a digital age now that a lot of us tend to lean forward a lot with our necks, and that can cause a lot of strain on the back of your neck. Not to mention, if you play an instrument that is not symmetrical, like the violin or the flute, pretty much any instrument, now that I think about it, except the piano, we have a lot of asymmetry in our necks. So see if you can find a spot for your head to rest on your neck where you almost can't feel that your head is being held up by your neck. Take a few deep breaths together. Take a deep breath in all the way into your belly. And open your mouth, exhale. We'll take 2 more deep breaths like that. Deep breath in all the way into your belly. Open up your mouth and sigh it out. One more just like that. Deep breath in all the way into your belly. And then sigh the breath out. Come back to your normal breath and just notice what it feels like to be you right now. Do a scan of your body. Notice any areas that feel extra tense. Also notice any areas that feel light. Maybe your head, now that we've found a nice position for it over your neck. And in this meditative space, I'll ask a couple of questions and you can answer them internally. No one will know what your answers are, so answer them as honestly as possible. Think about what you'd want for yourself as a musician. It's important to remember that we're people first and musicians second. We're people who play music. And it's really important to take care of ourselves. So maybe for yourself as a musician, maybe you need more compassion. maybe more patience. Maybe you need to listen when to rest. Maybe you need to learn to listen to your body if you start feeling tension creeping into your shoulders. It's a good sign that you need to take a break or maybe adjust your position. Or maybe you want to find more motivation to practice. This can be a really difficult time for many of us to find motivation to practice when so many crazy things are happening in the world. Or it could be something else that I didn't say that came up for you. Something that you want for yourself. And if you're comfortable doing so, bring your hands together at the center of your heart and dedicate your practice tonight for the next 45 minutes or so to building that while you move your body in different ways, whether that's compassion or learning to listen to your body. Take another deep breath in. Open mouth, exhale, sigh your intention out. And release your hands back onto your knees or let them fall wherever they'd like to. And then you can open your eyes and we'll start off with a type of breathing called alternate nostril breathing. I forgot to mention when I was introducing myself that in my my graduate degree program, my thesis was on yoga for musicians. And this was the main type of breathing that I taught to my participants. So I taught them yoga several times a week. And this was the one that they found helped most with their performance anxiety and with their tension in their body. So it's called alternate nostril breathing because we breathe in and out through one nostril at a time. So we're going to use our hand to help assist that. Bring your thumb of your right hand to your right nostril. And then bring your ring finger to your left nostril. Close your right nostril with your right thumb. Take a deep breath in through your left nostril. Then hold both closed. Breathe out through your right nostril. Deep breath in through your right nostril. Hold both closed. And exhale through your left. Inhale through your left. Hold both closed. Exhale through the right. Inhale through the right. Hold both closed. And exhale through the left. Do a couple more rounds at your own pace. And the pattern is exhale and then inhale through the same nostril. So as you breathe here, I'll just explain a little bit about what this type of breathing does. I'm sure everyone knows about your brain being separated into two hemispheres. So this type of breathing is believed to balance the two hemispheres. Breathing in through the left side of the nostril cultivates a more cooling feminine energy, and breathing in through the right nostril cultivates a more heated masculine energy. So if you ever feel like you are extremely anxious, or which is very normal these days with the way things are, you can also practice breathing just in through the left, out through the right, in through the left, out through the right, like in a circle. And that will be more cooling feminine energy. And the opposite goes for if you want more heat or more energy, you can breathe in through the right and out through the left, going in a circle that way. Take one more on each side. And when you're ready, release your hand from your face. We'll try another type of breathing called the 3-part breath. This was the other type of breath that I taught in my study that was very effective for musicians, especially the wind players in the study. Bring one hand onto your belly and one hand onto your chest. So the 3 parts of the breath are breathing into the belly, the rib cage, and the chest, and then exhaling out the same way. Take a deep breath in all the way into your belly, in your rib cage, in your chest. Then exhale out from your belly, rib cage, chest. Deep breath into your belly, rib cage, chest. Exhale from your belly, rib cage, chest. I'm really sorry if you're hearing my dogs. It's party time, apparently. We'll do 2 more of these 3-part breaths together. Deep breath into your belly, rib cage, chest, and exhale from your belly, rib cage, chest. Take 1 more at your own pace, breathing as deeply as your body will let you. And when you're ready, release your hands from your body, and we'll begin to practice some stretches together. And as best as you can, try to keep that really deep breath going. We just spent about 10 minutes or so breathing, so hopefully we're all feeling a little bit more settled. For our first movement, we're going to hold your hands up with your palms facing your screen, and we're going to touch each of our fingers to our thumbs, 1 at a time. We're going to do this for about a full minute, and you might start to feel this a lot in your forearms. Notice if you're tensing your shoulders up. Keep as much of your body relaxed as you can. This is really great for musicians because it helps build coordination. Also helps stretch your fingers and your forearms. Check in with your breath that you're still breathing deeply. Just about 20 more seconds. And if it helps during all of our stretching, you can always close your eyes to help you focus on what you're feeling. Just a couple more rounds. This is a really great one to do before you practice and in between practicing as well. Now, when that feels good, you can shake out your hands to release that. And for the postures that we're going to do either on the floor or against a wall, I'm going to show you against the floor, but you can definitely do them against a wall. So the first one's going to be stretches for our wrists. So if you're going to be on the ground, come onto your mat or whatever space you have set up. Or if you're using a wall, come to your wall. If you're on a mat or on the ground, we're going to come onto all fours. If you're on the ground, then you're just going to, if you're against the wall, you're just going to put your hands against the wall like this. And we're just going to rock backwards and forwards to start stretching out our wrists. Go a couple of times in each direction. Still breathing nice and deeply. And we're going to make some really small circles with our shoulders. Pick one direction to go in. A couple more in this direction. And we're going to switch directions, coming to the other side. Make the circle as big or small as feels good for you. Come back to center and we'll do the same kind of movement, but this time we're going to point our fingertips away from each other so that the insides of your wrists are facing each other. This time we'll rock from side to side. Press down into all 10 of your fingers, especially the base knuckles and the tips of your fingers. And then just like we did with our fingertips pointing forward, make some small circles a few times in one direction.
So Amanda, I have a question.
Yeah.
When I do some of these, my forearms cramp up and my hands cramp up. Do you have anything that can make that go away?
So that might actually be kind of good. That means that you need to stretch them. So I would suggest doing it for just a couple, like if you're doing the circles, just do a couple in each direction, stop, shake them out. And one thing about practicing yoga or stretching for musicians is that we want to feel some sensation, which can feel like tingling, but we don't want any like sharp shooting sensations, like, you know, when you like pull a muscle. We definitely want to avoid that. But tingling can happen sometimes for sure, unless your muscle is stretching. But I would say if it gets to be too much like unbearable, then you should stop for sure. That's a really good question.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then this one might be extra intense for a lot of people. Maybe you too, Anna, if you got tingling with that one. We're gonna try to point our fingertips back. And if that feels like too much, you can always do 45-degree angles, or you can do just one at a time. So just listen to what your body needs, and we'll try rocking backwards and forwards. And if it's any consolation, I had to do this every day for like a year for me to even be able to start to do it. So if you can't do it right now, it's totally fine. Just know that this is something you can work towards, and it will be really good for your wrists. It'll help you develop more stamina and also help you learn when your wrists need a break. And flip your fingertips back forward. We'll just do one more wrist stretch here. We're gonna just flip over one hand onto the back of your hand. And again, rock backwards and forwards. If you're on a mat, you can always scoot your knees closer to your hand, and that will make it less intense. And when you're ready, switch sides. And release if you're on your mat or against a wall. Just come back to where your hands are not pressing against the surface. Find a comfortable seat. We'll do another wrist stretch. Let me just tilt my camera up a little bit. Bring your hands to clasp in front of you, including your thumbs. And we'll make some circles with our wrists. And your wrists might be a little sore right now because we just stretched them a lot. So feel free to take a break anytime you need to. Listen to what your body needs. Remember what you decided that you wanted for yourself as a musician. Compassion, patience, anything that resonates. And then go in the other direction a few times. Now when you're ready, release, and you can shake them out as much as you need to. Take any movements that feel good. We're going to do another stretch if you're using a wall against a wall, or you can come onto your mat. This one in yoga is called broken wing pose, but it's not nearly as brutal as it sounds. So you're going to lie on your belly. If you're going to be against a wall, then you just press your belly, your whole front against a wall. You're going to stretch your left arm straight up from your left shoulder. Bring your right hand underneath your right shoulder. Then push into your right hand and roll over onto your left side. And if you're against a wall, you'll have your whole front against the wall with your arm against the wall as well. And then you're going to open your chest out to the side. So this stretches this part of your body, which is an area of a lot of tension for a lot of us. I can only speak to string players because I only play strings. I know for me as a violinist, this one always really gets me. I can only hold it for like 10 seconds and then I want to cry because it is very intense. So check in with your breath that you're still breathing deeply. We'll just hold here for 2 more deep breaths. And when you're ready, roll back onto your belly, or if you're against the wall, come away from the wall very gently. And we'll do the same pose on the other side. So this time, extend your right arm out to the side, left hand under your left shoulder, push into your left hand. If you're against a wall, opening out your chest to the side so that you can stretch the front of your right shoulder this time. We'll just be here for 3 deep breaths. Send your breath deeply into your belly. 1 more deep breath. When you're ready, roll back onto your belly. And take as much time as you need to come to find a seat. Next, we'll do some neck stretches, which is another area of a lot of tension for lots of us. So check in with your alignment. See if you can find that spot for your head to rest on your neck where your head feels almost weightless. So not too far forward with your chin and not too far back, just somewhere nice in the center. Bring your right ear to your right shoulder. We're going to try our best to keep our shoulders stacked over our hips. Sitting up nice and tall. You can either stay here if this feels really intense for you. If you would like to make it more intense, you can bring your right hand on top of your left shoulder and gently pull down on your shoulder, and that will intensify where you feel it on the left side of your neck. We'll be here for 2 deep breaths. And just like I mentioned to Anne a little bit ago, if this ever becomes too much, feel free to take a break or just don't do it altogether. Definitely don't want you to be in any pain. One more breath. And release your hand from your shoulder. Bring your gaze down towards your legs to stretch out the back of your neck. And just like on the stretching your head to one side, keep your shoulders stacked over your hips. And send your breath to the back of your neck. One more deep breath. And gently bring your left ear towards your left shoulder. You can either stay here, just letting gravity pull the weight of your head down. If you'd like to, you can bring your left hand to your right shoulder and gently pull down on your shoulder. Draw your shoulder blades together behind your back and keep your shoulders stacked over your hips. One more breath here. Release your hand from your shoulder if you had it there and bring your head back up to center. Bring your hands to interlace behind your neck, opening your elbows out to the sides. So we moved our neck from side to side. Now we're going to do some movements for our spine and the top of the spine, which is your neck, by doing some chest expansions and then folding forward. So open your elbows way back, pushing them back towards each other behind you. Look up towards the sky and open up through your chest. Take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, round your spine, let your head fall, and then let your elbows fall as well, closing your elbows in towards each other. Take a deep breath in as you open up your elbows, lifting your chest up, looking up, pressing your head back into your hands. And as you exhale, round your spine, letting your head hang heavy. Let your elbows fall in towards each other. We'll do 2 more of these. Deep breath in as you open up your elbows, looking up. And exhale as you round your spine. Take 1 more at your own pace, following the pace of your breath. After your last exhale, come back to center and release your arms. Give them a shake if you'd like to, if that felt intense for them. And we're going to come into half of a yoga pose. So there's a pose called eagle pose, and we're just going to do the upper half, which is to stretch the backs of your shoulders. So bring your elbows out in front of you like this, then bring your right elbow underneath. Yep, that's right, underneath your left. Yoga is one thing that really makes you question your right and your left. And then you can either bring your hands on top of your shoulders, or if it's accessible for you, turn your palms away from each other and then bring your palms to meet. That might feel really awkward for some of us. You definitely don't have to do that. You can just grab your shoulders. That's it, you got it. And we're going to do the same type of movement that we did in the last pose. We're going to take a deep breath in, lift your elbows up, look up. And then exhale, round your spine, curling into a tiny ball. Take a deep breath in, lifting your elbows up, roll your shoulder blades down your back. And exhale, round your spine, letting your head hang heavy. Inhale, lift your elbows up, last time. Exhale as you round. Come back to center, release your arms, and we'll do the same idea, but on the other side. So this time your left elbow will be underneath your right. Grab your opposite shoulders, or for the traditional eagle style, you can try to grab your palms. If that doesn't work for you, your shoulders are totally fine. This time we're going to do some neck stretches. See if you can use your hands to pull your shoulders down. Notice if your shoulders are creeping up towards your ears. Bring your right ear to your right shoulder. We'll be here for 2 breaths. Keep sending your breath deep into your belly. Then bring your gaze down. Bring your left ear to your left shoulder. One more deep breath here. Bring your head back up to center and release your arms and give them another shake if you'd like to. So we've done a couple of different movements for our spine. There's lots of different ways your spine can move. It can move back, it can arch back and round forward, but it can also move from side to side. And it's important to know all the different ways as musicians because our spines are so important to our instruments. So for the next posture, we're going to do Crescent Moon. That's the yoga name of the pose. So you're going to bring our hands together, clasp all of your fingers except your pointer finger. Then reach your arms straight up. Roll your shoulders down. So check that you haven't lifted them up to your ears. See if you can make a space between your shoulders and your ears. And take a deep breath in as you reach your fingertips up. Then exhale, stretch over to the right. Take a deep breath in, come back to center. Exhale, stretch over to the left. We'll do 2 more on each side. Deep breath in as you come back to center. And exhale to the right. Inhale back to center. Exhale to the left. Keep squeezing your shoulder blades together behind you. 1 more on each side. Deep breath in as you come back to center. Exhale to the right. Deep breath in back to center. And exhale to the left. Come back to center and then release your arms. Feel free to shake them out if they're getting tired because we're doing a lot of arm and shoulder stuff. And then another way that your spine can move is twisting from side to side, which a lot of us might do depending on where you go. For your instrument, for violin, it's really hard for us to have a nice, long, symmetrical 2 parts to our body because we're always twisted like this. So this is a really good one for violinists, especially in flute players. Bring your right hand, scoot back so you can see me. Bring your right hand to the outside of your left knee. If you're in a chair, you can bring it to the side of your chair. Bring your right hand behind you, like a second spine. That's it. Take a deep breath and lengthen your spine up. And then as you exhale, imagine twisting all the way from your belly button. So we're going to try not to look back. We're going to try to keep our spine in one line. But imagine twisting from your core, from your belly button, turning to the side. And you can use your right hand to help you turn. Take a deep breath and lengthen up towards the ceiling. And exhale, twisting to the left. 1 more deep breath like that. Inhale, lengthen up. And exhale as you twist. Come back to center and switch to the other side. So this time your left hand's on the outside of your right knee. Your right hand's behind you, and we'll take 3 deep breaths. Inhale, lengthen up. And exhale, twist to the right from your belly button. Inhale, lengthen your spine. And exhale as you twist. Just like with all our other poses, try to keep your shoulders right over your hips. 1 more breath. Inhale, lengthen. And exhale, twist. Make your way back to center. Take any movements that feel good. We'll do 1 more movement for our spine and also for our shoulders. Bring your hands to interlace behind your neck 1 more time. And then dip your right elbow down towards your right hip to stretch the left side of your body. Come back to center. And then to the other side. Keep going with this movement, following your breath, inhaling as you come to center and exhaling over to one side. Just doing a couple more in each direction. Try to keep your hips grounded onto whatever surface you're sitting on. One more on each side. When you're ready, come back to center and release your arms. Feel free to shake them out if you need to. And we're going to come to our first pose where we need our pillows. If you grabbed any, this one would be really great if you could sit on the ground. If not, no worries, but it's a seated forward fold. So I'm going to turn sideways so you can see what it looks like. If you are on the ground, stretch your legs out in front of you. It's totally fine if your thighs are against your chest. That's how mine were the first time I tried this. It took a really long time for me to even start to move my feet forward. And then you can bring a pillow under your knees if you'd like to, if this feels like a lot of work for your legs. So this is what we call a Yin Yoga posture, and Yin Yoga is to do with releasing muscles. A lot of yoga is about like intensity and strengthening, and this is more about releasing tension. So we want to try to find as much release in our bodies as we can. So if having a pillow under your knees helps, then definitely go ahead and do that. If it feels fine on the backs of your knees to have your legs pretty straight, then that's fine, but you can bend them if you need to. And bring a pillow on top of your thighs. Begin to roll your spine forward. Find somewhere for your arms to rest, either on your legs or next to you, and let your head hang heavy. And in Yin Yoga Postures, which is the type I usually teach, is this more slower paced, relaxed type of yoga. We usually hold poses for a few minutes, and that's to help you get into what we call the fascia, which is a layer under your skin, a layer that holds a lot of tension, and it connects your muscles to each other as well as your muscles to your bones. Not an area that we think about very often, but it usually takes a couple of minutes for your body to start releasing tension from these areas. And folding forward like this is really great for musicians because we hold a lot of tension in the backs of our bodies, not just our necks and our shoulders and along our spine, but also the backs of our legs, behind your knees, your feet, your heels. So if you're doing this pose with me, see if you can find some release. Bring your awareness back to your breath, breathing deeply into your belly. So for the next 20 minutes or so, we're going to do a few poses similar to this, where we're going to hold for about a minute or so. And as we try to find some stillness in these poses, bring yourself back to the questions I asked at the beginning about what you want for yourself as a musician. Whether that's compassion or finding the drive to practice. And use your breath as your anchor to keep you focused on the present moment. Notice if your mind starts going to other things. I'm sure a lot of us are probably thinking about the elections in the back of our head. And see if just for these few moments in these poses, if you can let it go and just be here with your body and your breath. Notice if you're clenching your jaw, or if you're holding any tension in your feet. We'll be here for 3 more deep breaths. After your third exhale, begin to roll your spine back up very gently and set aside whatever pillows you had, whether they were on top of your legs or beneath your knees. And then we're going to come to lie all the way down on our bellies. Keep your pillows nearby. We're going to do a posture called Sphynx Pose, which is another one that feels really great on my back and hopefully on yours. Now lie on our belly. And then think about the Egyptian Sphinx. We're going to keep our elbows directly underneath our shoulders, with your forearms parallel to each other as well as your hands. So think about making the number 11 with your forearms. Then open your feet wider than your hips and let your heels fall open. In yoga, we call this a chest expansion or heart opener because we're opening across our collarbones, which is again really great for musicians because we spend so much time rounding over our instruments. See if you can make the space between your shoulders and your ears a little bit longer. Notice if there's any tension in your legs. And try to release that tension with your exhales. Bring your thoughts back to your intention at the beginning of our practice, what you'd like to cultivate for yourself, your musician self, more compassion or patience. Feel your belly pushing into the ground with your inhales. Feel your tension melting away with your exhales. We'll be here for 3 more breaths. After your last exhale, lower yourself all the way down into your belly. We'll come into a pose called half prone frog. So for this posture, bring your right arm down next to your right side. And then make a cactus shape with your left arm and your left leg, bending at your elbow and your knee. So that your knee is straight up from your hip and your elbow is straight up from your shoulder. And release the right side of your head onto the ground. This is one that we'll hold for about a minute on each side. This is a very restorative yoga pose. See if you can connect to the parts of your body that are connected to the earth. And just like in Sphynx Pose, our last posture, feel your belly pushing into the earth with your inhales. Melt a little bit more tension away with your exhales. Be here for about 3 more deep breaths. After your third exhale, bring yourself back to center. We'll switch sides. So this time, bring your left arm straight down next to your side. Make a cactus shape with your right arm and your right leg. And release the left side of your head onto the ground. So this is a bit of a less intense stretch than the Sphynx and the broken wing that we did earlier. And this is to stretch the front of your right shoulder as well as the front of your right hip. Connect to your breath again if your mind is wandering. Take 3 more deep breaths. And after your last exhale, come back to center and bring yourself onto all fours, onto your hands and your knees. We'll come into a posture called melting heart or puppy dog pose. If your shoulders are stacked over your wrists, walk your hands forward and bring your forearms onto the ground. You want to keep your hips stacked over your knees. You might need to walk your arms forward a little bit. This is another chest expansion or heart opener. And then begin to release your chest closer to the ground and bring your forehead onto the ground. We'll be here for about 5 deep breaths. This is another great one for musicians because, like I said in one of the earlier poses, we spend so much time rounding forward. It can be very intense to try to open and cross your chest. So if you're feeling any pain at all, feel free to come out of it. 2 more deep breaths there. This is a great example of a posture, at least for me, that took probably 2 or 3 years of practicing before it wasn't unbearably uncomfortable. So just like practicing your instrument, you might need to try it quite a few times before you'll be able to stay in it. You're ready, come back onto all fours. Sorry about the frog in my throat. And then come to lie all the way on your back. Keep your pillow close by. We'll come into reclined butterfly pose. For this posture, bring the soles of your feet together to touch and let your knees fall open to the sides. If this is very uncomfortable and on your legs, you can bring pillows underneath your knees on either side or both sides, depending on how tight your inner thighs are. And if you'd like to re-engage focus on your breath, you can bring your hands onto your belly. Feel your hands rise and fall with your breath. Come back to the intention that you set at the beginning of our practice. Asking yourself what you'd like to cultivate for yourself as a musician. We'll be here for about 30 more seconds. Keep sending your breath deep into your belly. Take 3 more deep breaths. And for the next couple of postures, we'll be on our back, so feel free to stay there. Lengthen your legs out in front of you. We'll come into supported fish pose. This is another heart opener. So for this posture, bring your a pillow or blanket, whatever props you have underneath your shoulder blades. So in this area. And the idea is to have your chest higher than your head. So your head will rest on the ground behind your pillow. With your legs straight out. And feel free to bring your hands anywhere that's comfortable on top of your belly, next to your sides. Feel free to use as many or as little bit of pillows as feels good for you. We just want to have our chest higher than our head. We'll hold here for about a minute. Do a scan of your body here. Notice if you're holding tension anywhere else. Release your tongue away from the roof of your mouth. Bring a slight space between your jaw. Feel your shoulder blades grounding into the mat or whatever surface you're on, as well as your glutes and your hips. While you listen to the relaxing music of my dogs barking. Be here for about 3 more deep breaths in our supported fish pose. When you're ready to come out of it, very gently move your pillow off to the side and come to lie down on your back again. We'll come into a reclined twist. So this is pretty similar to the one that we did sitting up where we're twisting, but this one is more restorative, where we kind of let gravity do the work instead of us pulling over to one side or the other. So come to lie on your back with the soles of your feet on the ground. Let your knees fall over to the left with your legs stacked. And you can either bring your arms straight out to the sides. I don't have quite enough space to do that. Or you can bend at your elbows. Or you can bring one hand onto your belly and the other next to your side. Keep both of your shoulder blades rooted onto the mat. And you can either look straight up towards the sky or out over towards the right side. If you'd like to bring the stretch more into your neck. We'll be here for 5 deep breaths. Breathing here in your twist. After your last exhale, bring your knees back to center and let your legs fall over to the other side. You can have your arms straight out from your shoulders or bent at your elbows, anything that feels good for you. Then you can decide if you'd like to look straight up at the sky or out over your left shoulder this time. We'll be here for 5 breaths. After your last exhale, bring your knees back to center. And we'll come to our final posture. If you like, you can take the traditional pose that we take at the end of yoga classes, which is called Shavasana or corpse pose. And for that posture, you lie on your back with your palms facing up and close your eyes. If you'd like to do legs up the wall, like I mentioned at the beginning, you can take yourself over to a wall. Once you get there, scoot your glutes against the wall and then bring the backs of your legs onto the wall. It's a really great restorative posture. And we'll do one more breathing practice together here in your final resting posture. And it's called the triangular breath. For this breath, we'll inhale for the count of 4. We'll hold our breath for the count of 4, and then we'll exhale for the count of 4. So think of each of those as one side of a triangle. When we do the part where we hold, try not to feel any tightness in your chest. It's almost like pressing a pause button on your breath, and then release it. So I'll guide you through 3 rounds or so of this breath, and then I'll let you do a couple on your own. So here's our triangle breath. Take a deep breath in. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. Inhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. Inhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. If you'd like, you can do a couple more of these, or you can come back to your regular breath, releasing any hold of the breath. I'll leave you here in silence for about 30 seconds, just so you can focus on what's happening for you internally. If you can, commit to staying completely still for these few seconds. Know that you deserve this time to rest. And I'll guide you out when it's time. Begin to deepen your breath here. Still laying on your backs, keeping your eyes closed. Make some gentle movement into your body, maybe wiggling your fingers and your toes. If it feels good for you, you can move your head from side to side. Just checking out how your neck feels after that practice. And take as much time as you need to bring yourself up to a seated position. Once you get there, bring your hands together at the center of your chest. Checking in one more time with the intention that you set about an hour ago about what you want for yourself as a musician. And if you'd like to, you can make a promise to yourself to keep working on that every day, with and without your instrument. We'll take 2 more deep breaths together. Take a deep breath in. Open mouth, exhale. One more deep breath in. Open mouth, exhale. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Let me know if you have any questions. I hope that was helpful.
Amanda, that was wonderful.
Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
I have had a couple of people send me questions, so I'm going to shoot them to you really quickly.
Yeah.
So the first one was, I was asked if you had any help for stage fright? And if any, like maybe if any of the breathing exercises work better than others, or like what do you suggest for being nervous when you play?
Yes, I'm so happy you asked that. That's what my thesis was on, performance anxiety, because I have severe performance anxiety. It gets so bad that my bowl would shake like this.
Mhm.
Call it natural bowl vibrato. So the alternate nostril breathing, which was the first type that we did, where we held one nostril closed, that one is very, very good for general anxiety and performance anxiety. So that's one that I do before I go on stage, and it's very, very helpful. And the 3-part breath, in the study that I did, the participants found that was super helpful. I don't use that one so much because it doesn't seem as effective for me to focus on my breath in that way. The alternate nostril was more effective for me, but the 3-part breath has been effective for some people. So I would definitely suggest trying that too. Just anything that will help you get into your body and out of your thoughts is helpful in reducing anxiety. But it's just like practicing your instrument. You want to make it something that you do often, because if you just try to do it before you go on stage, it's not going to help for sure. That's like cramming for a test. You know, you have to like really train your body to react that way. So take some practice.
Also, I know you're not a doctor, and so we're not asking for any medical advice, of course, but
Please don't.
but I think a lot of us, my mom mentioned it at the very beginning, a lot of us deal with repetitive motion stuff from, for me, it's from playing. For other people, it may be from the computer or whatever, but it kind of affects our playing. Do you have any more holistic things you can do or suggest for us to help that kind of thing?
With repetitive motion injuries.
Yeah, like for me, it's tendonitis in my wrists. If we have, I have all the itises personally: bursitis, arthritis, tendonitis. So.
I would recommend taking breaks really often. At least that's what I found was helpful for me, because I sprained my wrist maybe 8 years ago, and it acts up every now and again where it's like so painful I can't play. But I find that taking breaks really helps. Like as soon as it starts hurting, I just stop playing and give it a break until I feel ready to play again, which is not always possible for people who play their instrument for their living. But I would definitely recommend taking breaks as much as possible, even if it's just like a 30-second break in between your hour-long practice session every like 10 minutes or so. And also the wrist stretches that we did are very, very helpful. But just like practicing your instrument, it's important to do every day if you can. Even just 3 minutes of stretching a day will really help. Because again, I've done physical therapy and a lot of other things for my wrists because they've caused me problems since I started playing the violin. Honestly, violin has just wrecked them. So, but stretching them every day has really strengthened them, and that's a big problem with injury, is that we don't have enough strength in our muscles, which is why they get injured. So I definitely recommend strengthening and stretching them as often as possible.
Awesome. I was looking over at the chat bar, and my mom and dad said, thank you so much. Mom says she feels much better now. Stephanie and Belize says, thank you, that this was really wonderful. She sent that to me privately, so I don't know if everybody can see it, but I really appreciate this. I think that we all need it. A lot of us are not playing as daily as we normally are at this time, since our rehearsals and everything are canceled. So to play, and then we take off 3 days, and then we play 2 days, it kind of messes us all up. So Natalie from Portland, she says that her violin teacher up there was really getting on her about doing some yoga, and she doesn't do it like she used to, but she found that some of those poses really stuck with her and helped her. So Karen Jennings, tell you great stretching, and thank you. And she's asked several people for violin specific ones, and they couldn't give them to her, so she really appreciated that. So
that's awesome to hear. And Natalie, broken wing is, I find, the best one for musicians. And these days, since we're like on Zoom pretty much for our whole lives, it's really good for everyone to just stretch this way. Actually, my violin teacher in Trinidad told me that she was the one that really got me thinking about the importance of stretching. She told me that if I spend 4 hours a day practicing my violin like this, then I should spend 4 hours a day opening my shoulders up like this just as much time going the other direction. And I thought, what? That's insane. But if you just do this every, I don't know, literally anytime you remember, just stretching back like this to open across your chest, it makes such a difference. Because if we spend so much of our time now on our computers, like rounding forward, it's so bad for this whole part of our body. Like it causes so much strain. So the more that you can balance things out by going in the other directions is, yeah, as much as possible. I would love to do a DVD yoga for string players. That's such a great idea, Natalie. That's my goal eventually, is for that to be my whole job, yoga for musicians and nothing else. One day.
Well, when you come out with that DVD, we'll sell it at Huffmaker Violins.
Oh, thank you. I would love that.
I do want to say, so I know that none of us are at rehearsals these days, but one of my favorite memories of being in grad school is when I became a bass player. First, I was a cellist, and I became a bass player. And one of the things that we did is the bass section. Before rehearsal, we would meet and stand in a circle, however many of us, and we'd stretch together. We do hand and wrist, because playing the string bass is just hard on a body, and so for you guys that are watching, when you do go back to your community orchestras, your string quartets, you should put the word out and say, who wants to step over in the corner for 10 minutes before we start, and let's all stretch together. Just the hands and the wrists and the stuff. You don't have, it's so helpful. And it's so much fun to do with your section, like if all the violinists do it together, all the cellists. So just wanted to throw that out there.
Yes. And actually that reminds me of the importance of breathing together in ensembles. If you practice breathing together away from your instruments, like the 3-part breath or alternate nostril breathing, anything like that, it really helps build your sense of community with the people that you play with. So I think that would be really helpful too.
I love that our guest last week is a conductor, and she talked about the energetic connection between a conductor and the orchestra. And for me, that always really the breath helped with that. Like if I could see the conductor breathing and I breathed with she or he, oh, fabulous. So
yeah, it makes such a difference.
So John Ebinger says thank you. So anyone else have any questions for Amanda? You can shoot them over there. So a couple things I want to say. So I said it at the beginning, but I don't think I really knew how smart I was. And that is that this is going to be a recording that I think we're all going to want to refer back to a lot. But Amanda, tell us, please, do you do private yoga classes online? Do you teach somewhere where our attendees can access you in other times?
Yeah, so I mostly promote my classes on Instagram, because that's where I found most people who are interested in yoga for musicians. I teach once a week with a company called Yoga for All Musicians, which I can, thank you, Vernon, I just saw your message, which I can send the link to. They have classes every day, and it's owned by 3 women, and all of them have graduate degrees in music, and they're all certified yoga teachers. And there's lots of
.com.
Can you say that one more time?
I'm sorry. Is it yogaformusicians.com?
Yoga for all musicians.
For all musicians. I put the link in the chat room there, kind of, sort of.
Thank you. Yeah, no, that's fine. So they do meditation classes, breath practice, and yoga classes. And there's the type that I did tonight is more of a slow pace. So we call that a lento class. And then we have allegro classes, which are more fast paced. And then there's adagio, which is like in between. But I would highly recommend checking out their classes. And they do free classes every Sunday afternoon. Oh. Everyone check it out, which is 4:30 Central Time. So I think 5:30 in Atlanta. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Amanda, what is your Instagram? Are you just Amanda Rice? What are you?
I will type it. And I also I usually teach yoga at a studio as well, but I just left that job because I wasn't feeling safe with the pandemic, with people not having their masks on and stuff during class. It was a little scary for me. So I'm planning to offer more of my own online yoga classes in the next couple of weeks, since I'm not teaching at the studio anymore. But I teach with Yoga for All Musicians every Wednesday night.
And that's violining yogi.
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And you know, it's become a real family, this whole Classes for the Curious Musician, because John Ebinger, who's here, is our guest next week. He's going to be talking about practice techniques. It'll be appropriate for all the instruments. So I don't know whether or not he'll want you to have your instruments or not, but I'll find out and put it on Facebook. But then Amanda and I were talking about our friend Uta, and Uta is a wonderful violin maker. And in 2 weeks, she's going to be our guest on the Class for Curious Musicians, and you can learn all about making a violin. So, so I will try to put any updated links or anything like that on the Huthmaker Violins Facebook page. I get all my stuff mixed up. So including this. So Linda says, thank you, Amanda. So, all right, I am going to go ahead and shut this down so we can all run back to CNN and find out what's going on, see if the world is still standing. Thank you again, because this gave me some peace and relaxation that I needed very, very much in my day.
I'm glad to hear that. Thank you for being here, everyone.
So I appreciate you. So, and Natalie, would you please stay on for a second so I can talk to you?
Yes, ma'am.
She's in trouble.
All right, you guys, thank you.
Bye. You're welcome.
All right, let me stop the recording.